Before we get into the glitches, there's a few things I need to address with the games. First off, these only work in the North American version, from what I understand. A lot of them are patched out in Pokemon Yellow, so this only works in Red and Blue. Some interesting things you'll see with like some inconsistencies of the way I'm talking, and also some team building here. This is from like 3 separate recording chunks. One was whenever I was attempting to just do a super glitchy speedrun of the game. And the other 2 are just, I wanted to redo the missing number one. And I also wanted to do some other stuff that I discovered after recording that initial chunk. So it's kind of all just spliced together like some Frankenstein abomination. So if it sounds like I'm going to start doing another glitch and then immediately switch to something else, that's why. For the most part, I've organized them by area you unlock it within the game. Although once I hit that crossroads in Saffron City, it starts getting a little hectic. Hopefully you find this video helpful. Happy haunting. First glitch in this series, we're going to try to skip rock. So you need to make sure your cursor is already on save, because once you try to do this, you won't be able to move it up and down. Press B to go through the text, and when you see follow me, when you press B, immediately press start. Then press save, and you'll start walking this way, it doesn't matter. What you're going to do is restart the game. And then once you're here, keep holding right. And just walk away. And once you do that, you can actually just completely skip rock. Now you'll have to do that every single time you faint to one of these trainers if you can't get to the Pokemon Center. So you better be able to fight all the way to the Pokemon Center. The other way this could be useful is actually skipping Brock just to get to the trainers for more XP. Especially if, for whatever reason, you're trying to do a solo run with something like a Pikachu that you have to get to an ungodly level before you can battle him. This next glitch is an extension of the Brock Skip. So you want a level 8 Pokemon with 10 PP in the first move. I believe that's optional. But you need to have 16 in the second and 36 in the third. And you can move them around with select in battle. The way I achieved this was actually just having Bulbasaur battle a bunch of Metapods because they keep increasing defense. And then running away so that I would not gain any experience and, by extension, level up. So we're going to do the Brock Skip as normal. So we're going to walk over here. And then whenever you continue, you're going to hold right as you did before. So once we get over here, we're going to go ahead and check our Pokemon. Obviously, this is still here. Ordinarily, when you would talk to him from the right, the game would crash. But because of whatever we did with our Pokemon, he'll walk off without me and then start pausing our game repeatedly, apparently. And we can just start walking through walls, albeit we have to fight him a bit, it would seem. We need to avoid any and all trainers, because... Okay! So we're going to move off this way. And then when we come back through here, should be able to talk to him from the side. And then he'll walk off without us. Or just freeze. Alright, so we're going to walk off this way. You need to check your Pokemon status. And then head over here. And then you should be able to walk off without him, but we're also going to keep ending up having our menu open at random points. And if we let go, yeah, it just immediately pauses. So we're going to keep walking until we get to the exit of Mount Moon. Being extremely careful to avoid trainers and stepping into buildings. If you step into a building, it starts the glitch over. And now that we're inside Mount Moon, the glitch is deactivated and we're good. Now, this is critical to the glitch. You need to make sure you grab the one on the right first. And then step down and grab this fossil. If you grab the one on the left, he'll grab the Helix fossil. And then if you grab the Helix fossil, but then step left to get the Dome fossil, he'll also grab the Dome fossil. So if you want to get both of them, that's how you do it. And now you have both the fossils and have escaped into Cerulean City if you want to jump the game early now. Now, using Brock through walls, you can also get into Celadon early, so always remember to check your Pokemon status, because otherwise it will not work. And then you're just going to walk up, and you're going to avoid all the trainers on this route, roughly. And remember, every time you let go of it, it's just going to pause the game, so... And you want to... Don't walk straight through this. Walk along this thing here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and slow down a little bit, because I don't want to walk through the tall grass here. Remember, you want to avoid any and all encounters you can, because if you do, it'll break the glitch. And with this, you can get into Saffron City. Now, once you're in Saffron City, you can kind of stabilize the game because you're still in the glitch mode by stepping in here. And you might be thinking, oh, now you're stuck in Saffron because the guard is going to tell you how thirsty he is. But you can walk across this, like he'll boot you on this side of it, which will then let you get into Celadon City early, giving you access to Eevee again, the evolutionary stones, and everything else that I was able to cheese with Pokemon Stadium, allowing me to get into Celadon City with 0 badges. Interestingly enough, you can also use the Brock Through Walls glitch to get into a near Softlock. As you can see, there's a Snorlax right here. It's not a true Softlock because even though you're stopped here with this because you don't have the bike, you can actually just keep walking past him as I showed in the previous one. But it's still pretty funny that you can actually just get stuck right here to a point where the only way to get out is to die and go back to Pewter City. Abra is our teleporter, so I want to find where the exact spot is. We're going to save right here. And we're going to press down and start to open up this, and then I'm going to use Abra to teleport, which should take me to Cerulean. I can no longer open the start menu, and I need to walk up, and we have to make this particular trainer take a step forward when we battle him. Otherwise, we softlock the game and have to start it over. His Slowpoke has the exact value that will conjure up a Mew. You can use this on other Pokemon to conjure up all kinds of other stuff, similar to a future glitch we'll cover, the Old Man Glitch. And once we're here, we just need to teleport again. And when we walk north, it opens up this menu. And we better be ready to catch it. Paris, I'm going to go ahead and use a potion on you just in case, because you may need to weaken it. And when we unpause, it's Mew. Now, I definitely should not have... Ooh. Okay, that's going to have to do. Because otherwise I have to tag into Paris. Alright, please live one hit, Paris. One more. Don't crit. Thank you. Yes, we definitely want to use the next Pokemon. We're going to use Abra here. Ideally, you would want a status Pokemon, but I did not train up my Paris that, like, at all. There we go, we have Mew. So in Pokemon Stadium 2, we can actually transfer items, and one of the items we can actually transfer should be the freshwater. And for those of you who don't realize how broken that's going to be, just wait, it's going to be mildly amusing. So we're going to change this one to the color case, and we want to change this one to a Dews PC. It's already there. And we're going to send ourselves 2 items. We're not going to send ourselves Master Balls. We're not going to send ourselves Evolutionary Stones. None of that. A single Pokedoll and a Freshwater. Technically, I don't even have to send the Pokedoll, but I want to send over the Freshwater for absolute certain. And then when you hit save and quit, we'll be ready to go and continue the actual run. This minor thing is going to let us jump so much it's not even funny. So now with that done, we can go ahead and close this one. So we're going to save in this Pokemon Center, or at least we're going to heal in here. It's important to note that this has to be the last one for a future trick, which we'll get to. But now we're actually going to do the Freshwater and the Pokedoll tricks. So thanks to Pokemon Stadium 2, you can get fresh water way earlier than you're supposed to be able to. So once you clear all the enemies above Nugget Bridge, you can actually head down in here, give this guy a drink, and then get into Saffron City, and by extension also be able to get into Celadon City, which would have made the Abra thing easier because you can get an Abra in the game corner, you can get Eevee early, you can get Evolutionary Stones early. Now when you're in Pokemon Tower, you'll run into these ghosts and you can't really battle them. But it's actually safer to just deal with the ghosts because Ghastly are actually kind of trollish. However, in order to actually get through Pokemon Tower, you have to fight the Marowak at the end. And ordinarily you would need the Sylph Scope to get through that. However, there's actually a way to cheese through it if you know what you're doing. And all the trainers will still have Ghastly, so you can still fight them as normal. Now, when you get here, you're going to have to battle the ghost of the Marowak. Well, if you have a Pokedoll, as we have, the ghost of the rest of this, you can basically just skip the whole battle. And then continue up the tower as normal, with no obstacles. And you didn't have to transfer that from Pokemon Stadium, I just did to make it easier to have. Because I wasn't sure what order I was going to be doing everything in for this glitch run. Alright, for our next glitch in the series, we're going to be getting onto the SSN after it's already left. So as you can see, the ship has set sail. We're going to just flick the joystick or quickly press the D-pad so your character is facing the water like this. And then you're going to take a step and then pause as quickly as possible and then save. Now, we're going to reload the game. And if you've done it correctly, your character should be facing the water. Next, you're going to press start and press down one time to get to the Pokemon menu and just keep holding down. Hopefully the first Pokemon in your party is the one with Surf because that's how I have my setup here. And then you'll be able to get onto the sailor here and then surf straight through him down into the opening. And from there we can surf onto the water and then go interact with the truck. Or we can battle trainers we missed earlier. Alright, so the trick with Surge's Gym is actually to check the trash cans. And probably it would be a good idea to turn off the turbo button on my controller, but I'm not doing that. And once you find it, you want to come up here to the top left one. Thanks to a coding error, there's a 50-50 chance that the switch would actually be the top left instead of one of the ones it's supposed to be. And also, apparently, it's only supposed to show up in certain trash cans to begin with. Now, this is a speedrunning trick, and it's not really useful because, as you can see, I've already beaten the game, or at least got all the badges. What you're actually going to do here is you're going to heal up at Cerulean, and this is before you would normally go into Vermilion City. So you're going to walk down like you normally do. And the entire trick revolves around preserving your Poke Power and having enough healing items to stay alive through both the St. Anne and the Lieutenant Surge's Gym. Skip that trainer, you have to battle these two. And then once you're in here, you do not heal at the Pokemon Center. You can go in there to switch out Pokemon and switch out items if you need to. I've had to do that a couple times to get the Farfetch from this girl. But you do your St. Anne, you do your SSN missions, you do the gym, and then you come into the Pokemon Fan Club. And then what you do is you're going to use a Pokemon that knows Dig, and you'll end up back at Cerulean a lot faster than if you were to just walk the whole way. Alright, now something we're going to have a problem with Snorlax here is that he's actually too strong. So what we're going to do is we're going to badge boost glitch. One of them, I believe it was Brock or Surge, should give us more strength. Like physical attack. Yeah, that did way more. And the reason why that's working is because you get 12% for each of the 4 first, third, fifth, and 7th badges. However, it didn't cap you at those. So every time you increase your stats or you change your stats, if your opponent uses Leer, it reapplies that 12% again. So you can keep gaining more and more in other stats. Alright, this is part 1 of a glitch where you can speed up the text in the game and also skip the bike. So now text is all instantaneous, and effectively it just immediately shows up. There's no scroll for it. This will get broken if you end up actually buying the bike later on, but there's a way to avoid doing that. There's also a rare candy here. On to part 2 of skipping the bike and getting instant text forever. If you just keep walking past this guy, like just keep holding left, he'll eventually just give up and give you a bike. So, and you don't actually own the bike here, so it won't end up clogging your inventory either. And then you'll get stopped by the guard at the end saying, "Excuse me, you need a bicycle for cycling road," and then kick you off. But you can just, again, keep walking over and still get by this way. Gen 1 is held together with duct tape. Now, not the most practical glitch, but if you ever find yourself short a moonstone, there is a way to actually use another Pokemon as a moonstone. As bizarre as it is, Exeggutor will act as a moonstone, and I'll show you how. So first, you need to be in a battle, and probably not this type of battle. Let me try... I'm sure I skipped some trainers up north. Alright, so you need to find a trainer that has at least 2 Pokemon. And you're going to knock out the first one to level up. And then you're going to switch into Exeggutor. And then knock out the second one. And what's going to end up happening is Nidorino is going to evolve after battle. I'm not exactly sure why this happens, but it does. Now, there's other Pokemon that can be used, such as Onix as a Water Stone, Growlithe as a Thunderstone, and Psyduck as a Leaf Stone. If you want to catch that glitchy abomination to use as a Fire Stone, you can also do this with Missing Number. But as far as practicality goes, you have to wait until later in the game to get all of those Pokemon than the stones. So it's actually easier to get the evolutionary stones than to get the Pokemon. The only exception is Onix, but Onix is also a low encounter rate in the Dark Cave. So it's not that much earlier, and it's a lot more work for a lot less payoff. This building is actually a replica of a Pokemon Center, but it's actually just a hotel. And if you come over here, there's like an invisible thing. If you press A right here, you can actually open your PC and access it. Because they removed the physical tile, made it walkable, but they didn't actually remove the interaction buttons. Your name here is for a future glitch, but these characters are going to correlate to a thing we'll be able to do, in which we'll be able to get multiple Mewtwo's, Snorlax, and other things. Watch until about Cinnadbar Island to find out what's going on there. Alright, this next glitch is one of the most infamous in the series, and that's the Missing Number glitch. It's actually a combination of a couple, so I'll show off all phases here. To start it out, what you want to do is talk to the old man. This is part of the old man glitch. And no matter what, he's always going to end up giving you a missing number on Cinnadbar Island. Next, you're going to go and you're going to fly to Cinnadbar Island. And you don't want to pass through any routes between now and Cinnadbar, and there's a reason for that, but I'll explain it later in another short or later in the video. Now you'll notice we're going to run into some things like this obnoxiously gargantuan Snorlax at 245. This is partly due to my username, and I'll explain that as well later. But what we want to do is run into Missing Number. Now we're running into some Execute here because it also uses a little bit of your last route data. Just ignore them. Also, before I forget, you want to make sure the 6th item in your inventory is okay to clone. Because that is going to be a natural result of this glitch. This is the way most people get unlimited Master Balls and rare candies. Okay, the fact that we ran into Tentacool means we went too far south, but we're still fine because it's still picking up Safari's own Pokemon. Alright, and once you finally found your missing number, you're just going to beat it. And then what's going to happen is the 6th item in your inventory slot is going to be multiplied. Now, if you catch Missing Number, there's going to be all kinds of glitchy nonsense that's going to end up happening, including having to finish the fight here. And it's going to mess up all kinds of stuff, such as Well, it hasn't infected anything else yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a rare candy on it, which will cause it to evolve into Kangaskhan for whatever reason. And now I'm going to see if that actually stopped the glitchiness or if we're still just going to have some problems here. You can tell if missing numbers starting to get glitchy by... what the... oh, that's right, because I was... okay, never mind, ignore that. Okay, so because the Pokemon are still displaying as normal, missing number did not cause any glitches once it turned to Kangaskhan. And for the most part, it's just a normal Kangaskhan, except for that it has Water Gun for some... Now, the reason why this glitch causes missing number to appear in the first place is because of the Old Man Glitch. So the Old Man Glitch, whenever you talk to the Old Man to have him teach you how to battle, it changes the encounters in that area based on your username. You can look up a full list on how it works on Bulbapedia, but effectively the second, fourth, and sixth letters that you can choose will determine the level, as well as some other ones that you can't type. And the third, fifth, and seventh determine what Pokemon. So with D, capital E, capital or lowercase u, we're finding Charizard, Snorlax, and Mewtwo. And with the female sign, we're finding them at level 245, like so. And it is also for this reason that if you use this glitch and you use a name that causes 245 Pokemon to appear, look at those stats and you'll see how dangerous they are. You need to make sure you clone Master Balls immediately because the easiest way to deal with these things is to catch them and then release them. And it's also good to have one as your lead because you're actually more likely to escape. Keep in mind that if you level up from battle, such as by defeating missing number here, your Pokemon will level up to level 100 and its stats will go back down to what they would normally be. Also, this allows you to get Mewtwo far earlier in the game than you would normally be able to. In fact, if you combine this with skipping Brock, you can actually get Mewtwo with a minimum of only 3 badges. Because you do need Fly, Surf, and Cut. But other than that, you don't need any more badges. Now, the reason why the Pokemon even appear at the end of Cinnadbar Island in the missing number glitch is because that area is missing Pokemon data, like encounter data. In Pokemon Yellow, they actually patched it out. And what that effectively means is that it will use whatever the encounters were for your last area. When you do the missing number glitch, you may find that you'll still run into stuff from the Cinnadbar Mansion, or maybe from the Safari Zone if that was the last area you went before you got Surf. Where it's actually really practical is if you lose the Safari Zone game. So here we encountered Chansey. And this is where it's really important. So as you can see, I missed the Pokemon and ran away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Dig with Paris. And then I'm going to fly to Cinnadbar. And then surf along the edge. So now, the Pokemon that will get filled into this spot are going to be the Pokemon from that zone in the Safari Zone. You can see we've already run into Chansey. This is a much easier way to capture Chansey, easier way to capture Kangaskhan, and of course the beast of Gen 1, Tauros. I don't know why I cut off the end of Tauros there, but I can't exactly recover that. Thank you for watching. That is all for this one. Happy haunting.